Now, Article 228, subsection 5 of the Constitution gives you the power, control of budget, to withhold funds to counties that you feel, or rather, that you're not satisfied that they are supported by law. Where do you, because you've said we assist you and we want to help because we are really tired of these pending bills. And the Comptroller and the Auditor General also said, I don't know whether to call them pending bills because they shouldn't be pending bills. They're budgeted, money has been dispersed, it needs to be sorted out. How can you, in your office, interpret Article 228, subsection 5? Or do we need to seek a judicial review to understand? Because if we have to pass a resolution of the Senate, and until now, that resolution has not been complied with, then what exactly are we doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Lakina. I know Senator Lakina can speak about this subject forever. He's very passionate about it. Senator Madago.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have just 3 questions, straightforward to control our budget. One is whether your office has a means of tracking the approvals you have done vis-a-vis payments and subsequent requests for approval, particularly on voiding. What we are seeing in counties is that money are requisitioned for projects that are ongoing or complete, but those projects end up not being paid for, and suppliers or contractors whose requisitions your office has not approved their payment are then paid. I don't know whether your office has a means of tracking to ensure that when counties make subsequent requisition, you're able to check whether the funds were actually spent for the purpose that was approved. Number 2, is there any action that has been taken for those probably you have found? Number 3, what happens, how does your office approve supplementary budgets that remove funds from ongoing projects and therefore stalling those projects and creating white elephants? Finally, I have a comment, Chair, on the issue of the houses of the governors, the speakers, and the deputy governors. I completely differ. The figure of 40 million was not based on anything. It was just the emotions and the bitterness of the former senators on the governors, imagining that the houses are being built for governors to live there. Those are not personal houses. Those are institutions. Those are offices. If you look at State House today, our State House in Nairobi, how it was built those years, do you think it costed two shillings? At that time, it was very expensive to build that, and somebody would have said it's a waste of taxpayers' money. I think we should remove emotions from decisions. And what happens with that 40 million when prices keep changing? The price of steel today is not the price of steel 10 years ago. So I think we should do something better on that.
The point is made. Senator Beatrice?
Thank you, Chair. Mine are comments on the water companies and hostels as an example, as was spelled out by Senator Sosi, that the water companies in the counties were meant to run like with a business mind to make some money that would finally be regenerated into services. But ideally, they're just employment bureaus where before even what somebody is going to do is identified, people are brought in and then you find something for them to do. So basically, they're not running efficiently and effectively. Their problem is really good governance. And secondly, on the hostels, as mentioned, our fear is that really no money is being cycled back to run the services of our hostels. And again, they just employment bureaus too. We have an example of health centers, sub-county hostels where you have more drivers in that facility, more than 10 times drivers when they even have one ambulance or they don't have. So basically, it comes back to management. And lastly, I want to add my voice to the bursary issue. Control of budget. Why would counties give bursaries, which is not their mandate, while ECDs, we have our children learning under trees. What drives the counties in spending 500 million, 300 million on bursaries while our mandate remains unperformed?
Thank you, Senator Beatrice. Senator Mugatana.
Thank you, Chairman. To the Auditor General, there was a time you revealed that some counties have been operating multiple accounts, and which, to my understanding, it meant that these are lines for possible corruption, and Tana River County was one of those with 34 accounts. What I was wondering is indeed possible to get the central bank, which is supposed to operate those accounts, to just close those accounts? What are the possible steps you could also advise we take so that we deal with this matter? It is embarrassing us. Quickly also, the COB, I was just going to advise, even though you don't have the money for public participation, nothing stops you from coming to the delegated legislation, to our committee. We work our way out, we see what we can do to assist each other, because what you're doing is something that is going to build devolution. Finally, Chairman, I just wanted Kajwang to tell us his honest opinion as chair for Senate Public Accounts. Why can't we get rid of the ESCC officers who are sitting with you? Why can't you get rid of them? They're doing nothing. From your own testimony, you said it's only when the media highlighted that action was taking place. So why are those guys earning allowances every day when we come for those meetings? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Maruma. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mine goes to the control of budget.
Yes. Just hold. Yes. You have the floor, but please.
So
okay.
yes, it won't take a minute. Chair, particularly on the issue of multiple accounts by counties, the Committee on Devolution did follow up that issue, and Chair, what we found from several counties that had so many accounts, most of these counties are donor-driven. And Chair, the feeling of the committee was that also the control of budget does make very alarming reports against counties, and they should remember it tarnishes the names and careers of people, because these accounts were justified because they are donor-driven, they are requirement, and all counties had them. Some are hospital accounts, and there are several hospitals and dispensaries that had those accounts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the mic.
Yes, you have the floor.
Yeah, mine goes to the control of budget. I've always had a feeling that the control of budget can use her office to assist us in completing the incomplete projects. How? Why should you allow account to do a budget which has left out projects and given priority to new projects? I think the control of budget should really help us to make sure that the stalled projects are complete or are budgeted for before new projects are allowed to be in the budget. Number two, it's about voiding payments. It's only the Auditor General who gives us the voided payments or flags the voided payments. Why can the control of budget, who sanctions disbursement of funds to projects, also be elaborate when she's giving the expenditure report, also flag the payments that are sanctioned but are paid for different projects?
Thank you. Senator Miller, did you want to say something? You okay?
No, I just wanted to say that those who have ears have listened to the sound.
Thank you. Okay, so finally, Senator Eric Okongo Mogeni, what did you note?
Chair, I will not, you want to cross-examine me, which is not right. Now, first, Chair, I wish we had given you adequate time to interrogate the issues before us. last week with Senator Matinga, we sat in a similar session with members of National Assembly. And you know, I witnessed the Speaker, Wetangula, chairing sessions for 3 days, 9 at times to 8:30 p.m. But they didn't rush issues. The CS Health and the PS Health, the chair, Shah, was interrogated for 3 hours, 21 minutes. So I really hope that those in leadership, when you organize these forums, you give us enough time so that we interrogate the issues, because this is really our core mandate of oversight. You know, if we come here and you tell us one question, 1 minute, it doesn't look nice, Chair. So I hope next time you'll give us enough time.
That decision was made from the floor, so
yeah.
You are part of that floor. Continue.
Yes. Now, number one, I want to hear from the control of budget, because Chair, under our Constitution, Article 2493, Parliament has been given a task to ensure that we allocate adequate funds to enable our independent commissions work and perform their duties adequately. And I think the word Parliament there makes reference to National Assembly and the Senate. That's why Article 221 says the CS will make estimates to National Assembly, but in terms of protecting adequate funding for commissions, that task has been given to the two houses. So, Madam Controller, I want to know from you, what was your wish list? In your budget, what did you request? How much was chopped, and how much did you get when the budget estimates were passed by National Assembly? Number two, honestly, listening to the presentations by the two gracious ladies, it's like we have made Kenya to become a criminal enterprise. If you have a country where 2.2 billion shillings can be allocated and spent without authority, I mean, 2 billion is not pocket change. If you gave me a mirror 2 billion, we'll turn those roads into tarmac everywhere. Now, the question I'm asking, where is the problem? Is it that you don't back up your reports with facts? Is it that the EACC is sleeping on their job? Is it that the DPP does not want to arrest and prosecute people? Now, as leaders sitting here, who should bear the blame? Because there are so many offenses happening, but we are not seeing any action, no arrests, no prosecution, control of budget, Auditor General. Where is the problem? Can we say the buck stops with the EACC, or is it the DPP, or is it your officers? Finally, the conduct of some of your officers. Some of us who don't sit in these committees chaired by our two brothers, at times you get disappointed. You know, you have a very good report from the Auditor General pinpointing a number of transgressions in counties. And you know, you come armed, then your officers appear in the morning and say, Chair, this one we have sorted. This one we have sorted. So, I mean, you wonder, a professional who has looked at books, documents, everything, and has given a report that has gone out, how do you come and say you have now agreed with the governor? You know, so do you have, I don't know whether you have a complaints desk where we can expose some of your officers. In fact, one who did a very diligent job in Yamira was transferred. Am I right, Senator Kajua? The guy was transferred when we were about to catch some thieves. We were told this one has now been transferred because he was not cooperating. So we also want to get assurance from you that some of these wayward randy officers can be dealt with by your office, because your officers are not under Public Service Commission, they are under you. Then finally, solutions now. You have told us problems like this idea of voiding, okay? Idea of splitting contracts, do you think there are weaknesses? Because this forum is for us to hear your experiences. You also make proposals where the guys who pass the laws. Are there specific recommendations you have on where we can amend the law or strengthen the law so that those who are committing some of these crimes can become guests of our courts somewhere? Thank you, Chair. I apologize, I've taken a lot of time. My apologies, Chair.
That's okay, but that's what you wanted. You wanted more time, right? So you got it. So we will go to the two gracious ladies to give their quick responses. We will start with no particular order. We start with the control of budget. You give your comments, and then we go to Auditor General. Then we get comments from our friends and we continue.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, and all the honorable senators who have raised issues, some of which I've had in the past, and a few, actually there are no new ones. I will start with the question on pending bills being voided, and how does this affect the balances at the end of the day. And what is happening here is, if I approve a requisition to pay, say, Mr. A, B, C, and D, and after approving the funds, once it gets to the operational account, then the accounting officer pays C, D, E, and F. What will happen to the original list? It means that there are some members of the original list who will remain outstanding, isn't it? Yes. So those ones remaining in the original list are the old bills that we keep seeing year after year after year. So the voiding, therefore, and the substitution of suppliers is one of the causes of the old figures that we see year to year. We have recommended that they use a first in, first out process to settle the bills. They still won't do that. But I'll be coming to that because there is another question. Governors spending time at the COB's office. I have been asking for a single governor to give me a circular I've given, asking for anyone to come to my office. I've repeated this many times to many committees that my office does not require anybody from the counties to come to chase requisitions. However, the central bank requires an endorser. Usually there are a junior officer who is introduced to the CBK to deliver a copy of the signed requisition. That is not my requirement. My copy of the signed requisition will be delivered separately. Then the county copy of the signed requisition is also delivered separately. The two must be matched before the transfer can take place. I hope we are clear on this. The COB does not require anybody from the counties. Please put them to task as what they are doing in my office. Having said that, especially with the new administration, we got a lot of new officers in the finance departments. And the ones that we had trained before went away with the skills. So we found a lot of errors coming in the requisitions. Some of these new officers were not really conversant with what needs to get done. And that's why last year I called for a joint meeting between the counties and my office to agree on the requirements for each type of requisition. But surprisingly, out of the 47 counties, only 20 sent representatives. The problem with that is that we continue to find the same problems that we were discussing and that we spent so much time to correct. But I don't want to dwell on that. This is something that has gone to the IBEC, and we are already crafting a joint solution with the Council of Governors to see how the problems can be rerouted through a single desk, which can then communicate to the counties in a timely manner. Because we also found out that there was a problem with the speed of communication. On the motion on pending bills, the senator from Narok, my friend Olekina, you know that there is a pending meeting. We were supposed to revisit this matter. Indeed, we have received a lot of information because we asked those who had done what you resolved, and some have done it, some have not done it. But I also believe that very soon we are going to have a meeting to assess what has happened. Now, on the issue of withholding funds, I tend to disagree with you. The only office that is tasked with barring funding to the counties is the National Treasury. My office prepares a report after the CS for Finance has stopped funding. And you know, sometime in 2019, the then CS actually stopped funding to 15 counties for failing to pay their pending bills. And, you know, for some time, but it's only allowed for a specific period again. You know, it is just for a specific period, and then I give a commitment from the COB to monitor them, and then they are funded again. On the senator from Uasin Gishu, he asked whether my office has a way of tracking payments vis-a-vis the requisitions. Again, this is a subject that was discussed at length, where I sought to have access to the bank's viewing rights for the bank statements of the counties, which was denied. I have tried to ask counties. Now I have to bend my knee and beg for bank statements. They still won't give me their bank statements. So, in short, I have no way of tracking. I can do this after the audit has been done, but then again, that will not help us because it will be coming at a much later stage. So the issue of granting my office access to the bank statements is still pending. It has never been granted. As for the governor's houses and the budget ceilings, it is not my office that can change ceilings. Indeed, if it is true that these offices or houses should cost more, that is a subject for the CRA, not for the control of budget. So for me, once you give me the ceilings, I hold you to them. I tell you, you must be within this ceiling until such time that you give me a higher ceiling. So on this one, I may be helpless. I can't change the ceilings. The hospitals and revenue, there is, I think it was Madam Beatrice who raised that revenue at the hospitals is not being used within the institution. This would be illegal. After the FIF Act, let me just explain the FIF Act. The FIF Act is the one that allowed any revenues that are raised to be used for development within the same institutions where it has been collected. So, for those counties that have customized the FIF Act to have their own FIF so that they are able to track the receipts and how the money is spent, they are already doing the right thing. But many of them have not yet customized the FIF Act, and it is one of the things that my office is following. But you were saying something. Maybe later. On the senator for Kajiado, Madam Paris, on bank accounts. When we started reporting on the bank accounts, we did not say anything about those bank accounts, but we were concerned that new bank accounts were being opened all the time and the signatories were not controlled. Indeed, when we checked some of the accounts, we found that they had been opened way, way back in 2013 during the previous administrations, and that the people in office were not aware that those banks were existing. And these were banks that were receiving revenue. So the concern came from there. Number two, all established funds must be operated within the CPK. That is already in the PFM. Imprest accounts can be operated in commercial banks. Again, that is allowed by the PFM. So I do not want us to bring politics into the bank accounts. What I'm doing in the balance of this year, we are revisiting those bank accounts to establish when they were opened, who operates them, what is the purpose, and we'll bring you a report. The only problem is that I just have funds for about 15 counties, and then I will progress in the next financial year when I can have some money for travel, because right now I don't have. I can only cover 15 counties. But I will be bringing you a report, an up-to-date report on these bank accounts, and the Auditor General also has a report on the same, and then we can look at all of them and see where the rain started beating us. On the Senator for Tana River, thank you very much. You have invited us to talk to the delegated legislation, which is the same, which was the committee then that annulled our report. So we'll be visiting the current one to see how we can be assisted. So thank you very much. Senator Mwaluma, I think that is from Taita Taveta. You have said that the COB can help in completing projects. Why do we allow new projects when others are ongoing? Unfortunately, as the chair, the two chairs can say, my office is not consulted on which projects are in the budget. And I think I'm throwing it back to the senators to put their county assemblies to be more accountable, because it is the county assemblies that actually approve the budgets. So if they can prepare good budgets, I will monitor the same for them. On voiding payments, why can't we also give voided payments? Like I said earlier, we have no access to the bank statements. When we ask the counties to give us copies, they simply extract some figures, they give us, they don't give us the bank statements for reasons best known to them. So if the Senate can impress upon them that we need to be given access, even if it is just to view only, I think this is something we can achieve. My senator from Nyamira, you have talked about Parliament allocating adequate funds. Please help us. Parliament is National Assembly and Senate, so you are included in this. Please don't let us... Now you asked what was my wish list. I prepared a budget for 1.6 billion, which covered all the activities in my strategic plan for the year, but I got 702 million. That includes salaries and everything else. 702 million. I have a staff strength of 158 staff currently. So that budget cannot do much. I think, thank you, Chair. I think those are the ones that concerned me. Thank you.
Let's just get responses. Let's just agree that we just complete. Please, I beg you. Please allow this so that we finish and get to the next session. Can you take some shorter time if you can?
Yes, I shall. Thank you, Session Chair. Indeed,
the issues raised on control of budget are similar to what I would want to respond to. So where she has comprehensively responded, I will not repeat. But starting with Honorable Catherine on moving beyond inviting individual governors or accounting officers to a consultative forum, a multi-agency forum, this is actually a very welcome idea. I know at one point I did raise, I don't know whether I was throwing a spanner into the works, and I asked Senate, can I be giving you a consolidated cross-cutting report for you to discuss matters devolution, and you concentrate on that? Then the small nitty-gritty issues I send to the county assemblies, and they also concentrate on that. Or can you handhold the county assemblies when you're doing oversight for the county entities? So it's a good conversation to have, because you really do not want to be spending time as Senate discussing reconciliation of bank accounts, and you know now if there are so many, they are never reconciled, and that's usually my main problem. Or even update of assets registers. You want to discuss matters that speak direct to devolution, strengthening devolution and ensuring that indeed it works. So it's a conversation I'd be willing to contribute to. And it would also guide us on which is the best way to discuss the Auditor General's audit reports at national level, that's Senate level, and at sub-national level, that is at county assemblies level. I want to jump straight to Senator Beatrice. I think the other issues my sister, Controller of Budget, has responded to. Talking about employment bureaus, if you look at most of the audit reports, there is a section that we normally talk about human resource matters, either wage bills, salaries, employment, composition, excess, or underemployment. And this is where you'll probably find your 5 drivers with 1 motor vehicles. So these issues are reported, and you can put the counting officers to task where there is overemployment. Sometimes they'll say they found them. Then you ask them, if you found drivers in place, then why are you not utilizing? Does it mean every time there's change of guard or there's change of leadership or management, then everybody has to employ their own driver? Very critical question to ask. Multiple bank accounts, Dr. Nyakang'o has responded to it, but I want to say this, that when you talk of the excuses, because I use excuses sometimes, that bank accounts are a necessity, and currently the counties are defending themselves by using the the facilities improvement funds accounts. This law was enacted in 2023. So what were the accounts for before 2023? And as the controller has alluded, some have not even implemented the operationalized the facilities improvement funds. The law says that fund accounts should be open at the central bank. But most of these accounts are in commercial banks. And some of these entities really have no track. They can't keep track of all these accounts. If you have 200 accounts, 100 accounts, 300 accounts, even reconciliations is not done. So we don't even know what is the movement of that account. Some are even dormant, or some are used for interagency transfers. This month, 2 million is transferred there, 3 million is transferred the following month out of the same account, but you're not seeing what is that account operating for. So it is important, and Honorable Dr. Nyakang'o, now I have, your dreams are valid. We can work on this together, because I'm planning for this as one of the subject areas or focus areas for the in-year audits that I want to do for 24-25. We can have a joint program where we can share resources, or come to Senate and ask that you indeed give us some money through the clerk to do this special audit for your information. And we will unpack this issue of bank accounts. But let us agree that there are too many bank accounts for entities. There was the issue of, I think it was Honorable Senator Omugeni, mechanisms for receiving, we have mechanisms for receiving complaints for the office. If you recall some time back, maybe those who are in the committees earlier, you would, when it was time for hearings, you would tell us, Auditor General, go and sort out the accounting matters. Just bring us the issues. Those days, honorable members did not want to discuss accounting matters. They would want to discuss other nitty-gritty issues. So we would sit with the accounting officers and we'd look at what is it that you had not accounted for. Do you have the documentation now? Is it valid? Has it been verified? And that we would come and say, yes, this we have sorted out. But I think it came to be misinterpreted that the auditor had gone to bed with the accounting officer. And what I did after those discussions, I issued an instruction, and I know Senator, the two chairs are aware, that for any matters that are resolved, it must be in writing. It is a committee that will determine whether it is resolved or not. And I think you've been seeing that change, that the auditor, and you still, when you invite them, you normally tell them, give the Auditor General all the documents. So what does the Auditor General do? My team sit and they spend the whole night. Sometimes they get those documents the night before and they have to travel to Nairobi for the hearings, perusing and confirming whether those documents pertain to the issues raised, so that now they can do for you a write-up. So that has changed. We are handling it slightly differently, and we are putting it under the purview of the committees until they get exhausted when they realize that it's mainly accounting matters that we are able to resolve. But matters devolution, critical issues, matters governance are still under the purview, cannot be resolved at the auditor, at the audit level. Issues of voiding, splitting of contracts, I did say earlier that let's strengthen the system, the IFMIS, and disallow voiding completely. Let there be a reversal of the transaction with a trail, with an audit trail. Not somebody just clicking a button and saying void, 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 and then you have about 700 transactions voided. And it's usually the last month of the financial year, that is in June. And sometimes because we normally go to July and we are still saying we're in June, we are avoiding a lot. Let's have that control so that it forces the accountant to actually do a reversal entry that is traceable. Because I always ask the controller, if she approved payment for $1 million to somebody and it was voided, how does she approve again for pending bills? And maybe this is Olikina's answer to his question. When they give instructions that pay, what are they going to present if a year back, 6 months back, they presented to the controller of budget those schedules for payment, and the controller approved the amount, and then they voided? Are they going to present the same? Then you have people working outside the system and preparing for me financial statements using Excel worksheets, and that's why perennially I'm reporting and reconciled balances. So I think those are the main issues. I will also take the opportunity and say that adequate funding is critical for us to be able to support you in your oversight role. The clientele, my clientele, has exploded to about 12,000 clients. The timeline is still the same. If we had the money, I would send teams throughout. Even now we are planning so that teams start in here by next month. Please look at the amendments to the Public Audit Act. It's already in the floor of the House. Assist us in strengthening the Public Audit Act. And then also look at the amendment to the Public Finance Management Act, especially on the aspect of sanctioning those who do not implement recommendations, not just from the Auditor General, but also from Parliament. Thank you.
The sugar levels are where they are. Senator Ososi, do you have some comments? Very, very brief comments, please.
I think most of the issues have been responded to, but I just picked two main ones. the recommendation by Senator Muma that probably we need to engage more, especially with the governors, on the recommendations of the audit report. My suggestion would be that, and from the look of things in this session, we probably would need a retreat where we engage the governors and the key stakeholders, like assemblies forum, to go through all these key audit issues with them. The senators of respective areas will be able to get an opportunity to engage on them. So maybe it's one of the take home from this meeting. The second issue is an issue that I think Senator Mungatana and Senator Mugen raised about the involvement of EACC and the conduct of the auditors. Personally, from my experience, I think we need to review the involvement of EACC because, for example, in CPIC committee, they come, sit there, listen to us. They don't ask many questions, but they pick information and generate circulars, which they send to counties, and basically doing our job. The example was when they gave out a circular on water companies, how they are supposed to be governed. I thought that was a mandate of Senate and not their mandate. Secondly, I think it's the weakest link because we have given numerous recommendations on the actions they need to take, and they have taken their time. For example, we gave a recommendation on what needed to be done on the matter of bursary fund in Bungoma County and West Pokot County, where money was about 700 million shillings, was put in school infrastructure projects, and no infrastructure was ever done in those counties. We are still waiting for feedback from them and many others. On the issue of auditors' conduct, I think one issue that we must agree on how to handle it is the issue of late submission of documents. What happens is that an audit process is completed, a certificate is issued, but before the counties appear before us, they generate documents and they bring us before us, piles and piles of files. And we are made now to look like we are reopening the audit. I think the way forward is to follow the law and say that once an audit certificate has been issued, no more submission of documents. That way, we'll be able to resolve this issue because we usually find ourselves in an awkward position where an auditor who is actually supposed to be on our side comes and says, this matter is handled. Reason, documents have now resurfaced. I think that should not happen, and maybe we'll consider making amendments to the PFM Act so that the matter of late submission of document does not come to our meetings. So basically, those are the comments on the water, Madam Senator Beatrice. We are now starting to get improvements in the water companies, as I had alluded to earlier. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you. And finally, Senator Kajwang.
I'm conscious of the time and the mood of the House. On EACC, Senator Mungatana, my candid response is that the problem has been the leadership of the EACC. These two ladies, their appointment is, they're not vetted by the Senate. They are vetted by the National Assembly. And every time I've asked Nancy or Margaret to come for a meeting or to send someone for a meeting, they come. They drop whatever they're doing, they show up. Tell me the last time you saw the CEO of the EACC sit with us in a meeting like this. The last time I called them for a meeting in Mombasa, it's the chairman who came, the bishop. He's a very nice guy. I told him to come with a listing of all the matters that we have referred to them. He could only count, but he could not specify. He only said we had referred 149 matters to the EACC, but he asked for time to be able to compile. The people who sit in our committees are very publicly spirited, ladies and gentlemen. I think I must commend them. There is Mr. Kinoti, there is a lady called Patricia, Senator Nyonka, the one who sits in our committee. They do their best, but they get frustrated when they go back to Integrity Center. And we hope that the new CEO of the EACC, we must put him on notice that he must change his ways. He must know that he's accountable to the people of Kenya, he's accountable to the people of Kenya through Parliament. And I want to recommend that we need to call him to a committee of the whole, so that, one, he outlines his vision on the fight against financial malpractice in county governments, and he also tells us the action that he has taken. It is a sad thing that he was vetted in the National Assembly. I was in Omtata. Omtata wants to go to court, arguing that he should not even go through the National Assembly. He should be appointed by the board of the EACC. Those are matters that Senator Mogeni is very well aware of as a founder of that institution. Finally, audit reports are not going to be very useful tools for oversight in the near future. An analysis of the reports that Nancy brought to Senate on 31st of December, all the 47 counties have a qualified opinion. All of them. So it does not matter whether it's Isiolo. It does not matter whether it's Marsabit, uko kwa Kinachute. It does not matter. All of them, they look the same. So if CRA was to award them, they will all look like they've all performed well. Even though CRA, I liked the formula you came up with, that fiscal responsibility was not just only the opinion, it was also source revenue performance, how much are allocated to development, and several other factors. When we scrapped it at the last debate, it was not based on any philosophical depth. We just wanted to use that 2% to balance the numbers. So please, as I said earlier, please think about it because it's part of your job description. What then is the thing that, and session chair, I know I missed yesterday because I was with the Public Accounts Committee in Arusha. And we have done a lot of these meetings. What are we saying at the end of this meeting? Senator Mogeni, that was Article what that you cited? Was it 249(3)? If we cannot dissect that article of the Constitution and make a resolution on it today, then we will have just come for another tactical retreat and not a strategic retreat. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been in the Senate for 10 years. We pride ourselves as the upper house. We are not involved in the budget. The BPS will be coming to us, will make suggestions, no one will care. We are not involved in appropriations. We are not involved in significant appointments. We are not involved in ratification of treaties. I don't remember the last time I saw a treaty being brought to the Senate. We are not even involved in things like deployment of the military. The last time Duale was deploying the military, he went to the other house, he didn't come to our house. How then are we the upper house? Is it because you can impeach a deputy president? We must assert our role, and the starting point is Article 249(3). We must demand that the budgets of independent offices and commissions must be brought to the Senate. And that perhaps should be the resolution, that we are saying that the Senate is demanding fulfillment of the constitutional provision, because that matter does not need any guessing. It is in black and white that Parliament shall, and the commissions are listed there. Now, if the control of budget asks for 1.6 billion and she's given 700 million, how is she expected to operate? So, honorable members, if it was not resolved yesterday, I want to convince you that let this be the resolution, that the Senate has decided they are taking the battle to the National Assembly and they are going to assert themselves in budgeting and allocation of resources to constitutional offices. That will make us at least look relevant. Otherwise, we say a dead snake, tunatisha watu na sisi ni nyoka imekufa. The last resolution that perhaps can be considered, and if the decision is not made now, the leadership can consider it. These oversight committees, with the timelines that I presented earlier, it is going to be impossible to meet those timelines. Let's think about the ideal size of a public accounts committee, public investments committee, taking into account the facilities we have and the staff that we have. I would have recommended that because of the timelines that are strict, we expand these committees from 9 to another odd number, maybe 9 to 13 or 9 to 15. That will allow these committees to operate as subcommittees. So you can have 3 or 4 subcommittees running at the same time. I know there's also a lot of desire for members to be in this committee. It also allows more members to be part of this committee. I want to appeal to leadership that that should be a matter that you consider. But for the plenary, Article 2493, we must get back our power as the Senate.
Okay. So Kajana has spoken and then switched off the microphone. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are coming to the end of our session. Please applaud these distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have really done a fantastic job. I agree with you, Senator Mogeni. This session would have needed a lot more time. A lot more time. But it is what it is. So I will just list down 3 or 4 what I think are the takeaways from this session. You will decide later. One is on our role as defenders of devolution. That we must remember always, that we have been assigned that role by the Constitution, a role that has not been assigned to any other institution, and we must play that role and play it very, very well. Why do I say this? I say this because it is very easy for us to sit in a hotel like this and make a recommendation that affects all the counties. And I'll give you an example of the bursary conversation without getting into the details of it. There are those of us who hold the view that county governments must not be involved in handling bursary funds or access to quality education. There are others who hold the view that they should be involved. I will ask you, in your own time, to find time and visit the county of Mandera. I was there myself 2 weeks ago. If you told the people of Mandera that their county government cannot be involved in the issuance of bursaries, I don't know which means you're going to use to get out of Mandera. That county government is not just giving bursaries, is ensuring what you're talking about, quality access to education for all their students in high school, paying full amounts. My friend, I'm just giving my own opinion of what I saw. When you gave yours, we listened. Just listen to mine. That's what I saw. I think it's fair comment. I saw that, and I thought really this is something that is working for those people. And now talking about national government functions, the county government functions, we all agree that we are bound by the Constitution. We must follow the law. We have 2 options in matters dealing with oversight committees of the Senate. The Constitution gives us only 3 months to handle the reports after they have come to us. The options that we have is to change the Constitution and be sure that then we can extend the time or expand the membership of the committees, because that we can do through a resolution of the Senate. Lastly, I am fully in support of what Senator Kajana said. Article 249, very, very clear. Parliament must be involved in the budget-making process of all constitutional institutions. COB, CRA, and the Office of the Auditor General are constitutional institutions or commissions. The Senate must be involved in scrutinizing and the budget-making process of those institutions. And not just It is not just for us alone. It's also for the heads of those institutions to demand that if the National Assembly is handling the budget-making process of institutions, the same should happen in the Senate. Because that's a law, it's a constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening to us, and sorry we have taken a lot more time than was allocated to us. There's very little that we could do about that. The session is hereby then ended, and I want to, Senator, I think let's just do it with the next session chair or the deputy speaker. Thank you very much.
Let us give a round of applause to the team that has been here. Thank you, Chair Senator Nokwambua. Members, you can agree with me that there is no more energy in this room. Honestly speaking, I really want to thank you for really persevering up to this hour since yesterday. So this session is just...
But Chair, Session Chair.
Who is that? Senator Mugeni, what is it?
Yeah, you know, we have sat here the whole morning, it's 3. And we are moving to the most critical session where we need to craft some resolutions that will be our take home. No, Senator Dedama, I told you the National Assembly was adjourning at 9. In a session chaired by Speaker. You know, if you bring us here and you rush us through things, we came here, we gave 2 days.
So what is your proposal,
I'm
Senator
proposing
Mugeni?
that we go for lunch, then we come back here and deal with the way forward. We must look serious here. You know, we cannot just be brought here to tick boxes. It's not right.
Senator,
No, even if we are 4, we will do what we need to do.
Senator Mugeni, what is left is just a simple presentation, just few minutes by...
You see, you will tell us now we can't input way forward.
By
Yet,
Senator Redamo Rekina. Let them give us the way forward. If you feel we need more time, this is not the
I've seen. I understand why your wife was upset. If the same thing happened to me, I would definitely be very upset.
Enough. That's a different matter. Don't you try to preach on me. Most people have their hobbies.
I know I was wrong. I can endure if he insults me. My friends, I can endure. But he insulted my parents, and even you.
Mimi Kevin Chuma.
Wewe chuma inatoka wapi? Kama ulimi ni msito siwachane naye. Tumuite jina ingine.
Lakini wewe nini ya kusumbua?
Kwa nini?
Zilikuwa C4, zile za
C4 na kuruneti si kitu moja.
Guruneti ni guruneti.
Sikiza nikwambie mami. Unajua
tulijua ni guruneti ile inatumika kwa kware. Ilipolipuka mimi nikainuliwa juu, huyu mama kainuliwa juu, tukajipata tumelaliana in the new year.
Why do you want to suicide yourself?
Mimi hakuna pale nitaka kujisuicide.
Nataka kufungua mheshimiwa